Hello, people. So there is no One Piece chapter this week. I'm pretty sure there is no One Piece chapter this week. Anyway, and the damage control for Whole Cake Island is still going strong. It was just way too long. It's just a lot of setup, and it's way too long for what it does. I think that's the best way that I can describe it. But anyway, given the fact that we did get some setup in Whole Cake, and we also got some setup in Zou, so I'm going to be talking about things that I think make sense for the characters to be doing once we hit Wano. Now, I'm usually very conservative when it comes to speculating and throwing out ideas about what I think is going to happen, just because sometimes these ideas can snowball into these crazy, crazy things that have literally no chance of coming true. And then, even if there is like a slight possibility of them coming true, Oda has said that he doesn't like fans out predicting him. Like, he doesn't like it when fans figure out what he's trying to do with the show or with the series, so he changes the idea intentionally. But I think that going into Wano, Oda has laid down some tracks to the point where it's kind of obvious that either these things have to happen or most of these things have to be addressed at some point, be it in Wano or in a future arc. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start talking about the adult trio, the older trio. Then I'm going to go to the weakling trio, which, by the way, I don't think they're weak. And then I'm going to end with the monster trio. And I'll start with Franky. So last time we saw Franky, he said that he was going to build a weapon to try and take down Kaido. Now, because Kaido is a Yonko, we can already kind of expect that even if he does build this weapon, it's probably not going to do much against Kaido. But it should be interesting. Like, it gets you thinking about, okay, like, what have we seen Franky do before? Well, my first thought was, is he actually going to make an actual, like, docking system for each of the Straw Hats? Like, for them to have, like, a cabin and then unite into this giant Megazord Power Ranger style or something like that. Because that would be fun. Oda loves doing goofy, silly stuff like that because he's a kid at heart, much like Luffy. So there could be, like, this giant robot that, is encompassed of different body parts, and each of the Straw Hats is in charge of like a different body part. Although it doesn't even have to be for the Straw Hats. Like, maybe some of the Supernova can kind of help him. Now, in regards to his bounty, I do remember that after Dressrosa, Franky was complaining about the fact that he was one of the Straw Hats with a bounty that was under 100 mil. So that right there is a hint that after Wano, Franky's bounty will be over 100 mil for sure, and we can expect his bounty to skyrocket, if not shoot up considerably, after Vegapunk shows up in the story. On a more serious note, we do know that at one point in time, Franky had access to the blueprints of Pluton, Pluton being one of the 3 ancient weapons. And so I thought about it and I was like, well, could he build like part of that weapon in Wano to try and take down Kaido? The thing is that you have to remember that not only did Franky burn those plans so that the government wouldn't get them, but at the same time, these blueprints are super top secret confidential information. So building a copy of Pluton isn't something that he would take lightly. In fact, the only reason these blueprints get passed down is because it's to use them in case of an emergency, in case the first Pluton emerges and threatens to destroy the world. That's the only reason you would have to build another Pluton, to destroy the first one. So it's something that's very, very, very sensitive information, and I don't think that Franky would even, think about that idea, not unless it's absolutely 100% necessary. And he's been in other scenarios of crisis with the Straw Hats, and that's never come up. So I don't think Wano is going to be the exception. That being said, given the fact that the Reverie is about to start, I definitely think that is the best environment for us to learn something new about one of the 3 ancient weapons, or maybe all 3. Up next is Brook and Robin. Now, I'm going to be talking about them together just because I feel like you can put them in kind of like the same category. Oda has been using them for side quests, kind of like for support in a way. And I also think that they fit well together because they happen to be Paramecia users. So yeah, they're basically there for surveillance and reconnaissance, like recon assignments and such. And I guess you could include Usopp into that category as well. But the difference is that they're Devil Fruit users, and I think Robin and Brook know way more than what they let on. And truly, I think that Robin's time to shine will come by the end of Wano, when we have Kaido's poneglyph and they can translate Kaido's poneglyph alongside the poneglyphs that Big Mom had, that Brook stole. And ultimately, I think that those maps have to lead to Elbaf. We know that we're going to see Big Mom again. I think it's going to go back to where her story started, which is Elbaf. So what I think is going to happen is that Pudding is going to awaken her third eye ability. Big Mom is going to force her to read her poneglyphs, and those poneglyphs are going to lead them to Elbaf, and then they're going to cross ways with the Straw Hats again and be like, what are you doing here? Like, how the hell did you know how to get here? You could have only have found that out if you had... You stole my poneglyphs! Now, post-time skip, Oda has actually given us some hints, some clues that kind of point towards the possibility of Brook and Robin mastering their devil fruit to the point of being able to use awakening. Remember, for a Paramecia user, awakening is being able to affect something that's outside of the user's body, like morphing or changing something in the user's environment with the devil fruit power. However, it has not yet been confirmed that Robin and Brook are in fact awakened devil fruit users. So what I think would work well would be for Robin, Brook, and Luffy to take some time in Wano to figure it out, to learn how to master awakening. Maybe a supernova can teach them how to do it, and then come back and engage in a fight against Kaido and his men once they fully master awakening. For Robin, I think, given the fact that she already knows how to clone herself, how to make a duplicate of herself, I think a pretty good upgrade would be for her to learn how to clone other people, to make duplicates of her friends. You know, just imagine her using Luffy Bunshi no Jutsu or something like that. Or, alternatively, she can learn to clone objects, to make copies of objects. So she can make a bunch of copies of herself, copies of her friends, and then copy like objects, you know, that she can use in either battle or kind of like use as a distraction. For Brook, it's a little bit trickier because initially I was going to say, what if he could use his soul power to bring inanimate objects to life? The problem with that, though, is that that's way too close, way too similar to Big Mom's power. So you have to find something that only works for Brook. I was thinking maybe he could reanimate corpses, like people that were once alive, and maybe bring them back to life momentarily, like with a time limit. Maybe raise an army of the dead, like dead samurai, or like, you know, just skeletons and stuff like himself. Maybe his soul can jump into another person and momentarily take control of that individual, kind of like what Ino did in Naruto. Either way, we do know for a fact that he was able to injure Prometheus back in Whole Cake. I think that fight, or that part of the fight, was off screen for a reason, so we definitely have to find out what he did to achieve that. I definitely think that Chopper should find a way of obtaining or unlocking his own Sulong form in Wano. After everything we've seen and all the build-up to the Minks being able to use Sulong, I think it would suit Chopper nicely. Now you may say, wait a minute, Chopper is not a mink. Well, no, but he's an animal. I mean, really, what's the difference at this point? What's the difference? He's a talking animal. The Minks obviously appreciate him because he helped out by coming up with an antidote to Jack's poison in Zou. Carrot calls him, like, what is it, Choniki, like, you know, Chopper, little brother, or brother Chopper, whatever. So there's some esteem, there's some affection there. Why can't they just teach him how to go Sulong form? Unless they can't, but, you know, he's a doctor. He can do some research and say, okay, this is what happens to your body when you get exposed to the full moon. I'm going to be using that research, that knowledge, to come up with my own little potion to make a rumble ball so that it can mimic the effects that you guys get when you get exposed to the full moon. So something similar to Sulong form, but he can come up with his own little way of achieving it. Because the Minks will go Sulong in Wano. This has already been confirmed and foreshadowed by Inuarashi, who said that once they meet Jack again, whenever they come across somebody from Kaido's crew, they'll be better prepared because they'll have their trump card, meaning that the Minks who can transform will be timing their invasion with the light of the full moon so that they can just start wrecking stuff up once they get that transformation boost from the full moon. So again, this would be a really good opportunity for Chopper to learn how to do that so that he could do the same alongside the Mink army. Now some of you may be thinking, wait a minute, the full moon just passed. Like, we literally just saw Carrot transform in Whole Cake Island. And while that's true, you have to remember that the world of One Piece has more than just one moon. So there can be another full moon coming up very shortly. Then we have Nami, who now has control over a part of a Yonko's soul. Remember, Zeus is a special homie. He's not like the other homies that Big Mom was creating, like with like the food or the trees. Like, Zeus is special. So She has a lot of power in her arsenal now. We got a glimpse of that power back in Whole Cake. Like, I mean, we saw this gigantic thunderbolt that she was able to make Zeus produce to hit Big Mom with. That was insane. That was crazy. We're talking grand, large-scale attacks from Zeus and Nami here. Now, she may not be able to control the weather as ferociously as Big Mom could, because remember, like Big Mom was said that whenever somebody tried to escape Whole Cake Island, she would just send Zeus and Prometheus over to get them, and she would just straight up sink their ships. So I don't know if Nami will be capable of doing exactly that, but she should be able to produce like rain at a massive scale, wind at a massive scale, like some small tornadoes or fog for cover and stuff like that. I definitely see her being able to fly around on Zeus, Goku style, which is good for her because that keeps her out of danger. She is kind of vulnerable as a combatant, so if she can just kind of like stay sky high, you know, up in the air, she can avoid a lot of danger, and she could provide cover and help for other Straw Hats. I was thinking, because if she's able to fly, she could actually provide Usopp with a platform that he could use to snipe from. So she can be doing a lot of damage with her long-range attacks and with her combos. I was thinking that, like, for example, if she were to be paired up with Kid could attack an opponent with his metal, and then she could use that metal as a conductor to electrocute the crap out of whoever they're fighting. Similar ideas like that. Next up is Usopp, who, from the last time we saw him, I'm pretty sure that he's been spending a lot of time with Raizo, just because Raizo kind of fits his fighting style. Raizo's kind of a troll. Like, he uses his ninja style techniques and abilities for stealth and deceit, but also for comedy. So it kind of goes along with what Usopp does. Plus, Usopp in the past has used shurikens and stuff. So I can't see how somebody silly like Raizo wouldn't have an influence over what he does combat-wise once we hit Wano. Ultimately, though, Usopp has to get better at using his newly awakened observation haki. He has a very specific long-range type of observation haki which suits him well because he's a sniper. He can see through solid objects, like in Dressrosa, he saw through a wall. And I think that ultimately, I predict that Usopp will have to get a massive sniping feat in Wano, just because we're getting close to that moment in the series where, you know, we're not at the finale, but we're getting close. Just like Shanks said in the previous chapter, we're getting there. And so from a story standpoint, I think it's very clear that Usopp not only has to meet up with his father, with Usopp, but he also has to surpass him, just like Luffy has to surpass Shanks at some point in the story. Not only does Usopp need to surpass Usopp, but he also has to have a fight with Van Ogre. I think that's heavily foreshadowed. They're both snipers, so Usopp should definitely be working towards accomplishing more and more impressive sniping feats. And just to give you an example, I'm just going to tell you what we know that Usopp and Van Ogre can do, okay? So first is Usopp. Usopp is said to be so good at sniping that he could literally take off, just blow off the antenna from an ant that's 100 feet away from him. That's how good he is. Van Ogre, on the other hand, there's this one part, like pre-time skip. I think they're going to Jaya, and there's like some seagulls just flying down, just coming down dead, okay? And then Chopper's like, what's going on? Somebody's shooting these birds out of the sky, and Nami's like, no way, because there's not an island in sight. It's nothing but sea around us. So the island is so far away that the Straw Hats can't see where Van Ogre is shooting from. Meanwhile, he's like, oh, I could tell that one of the birds that I shot didn't die right away, which speaks to his tremendous range for his sniper observation haki. So in order for Usopp to get close to that level, he needs a major observation haki feat, a major sniping feat in Wano. And last but not least, the Monster Trio. I even had to change locations for this one, starting with Mr. Raid Suit himself, Sanji. Last chapter we found out that Niji gave Sanji a raid suit, and people are already debating whether they want him to use it or not. Some people want the raid suit to go to another member of the Straw Hats. Others want Sanji to use it. I think it has to be Sanji, just because Luffy was trying to use the suit and he couldn't get it to activate it, so the suit only responds to Sanji. It's a Vince Smoke tech family trait kind of thing. I already said this in my review, but the color of the raid suit has to be yellow because the Vince Smokes are color coded. Now there's been some confusion here because back in the day there was an SBS where Oda answered a question about what color would correspond to each of the Straw Hats, and Oda said that Sanji would be blue, Luffy would be red, Zoro would be green, yada yada yada, and Usopp would be yellow. So people are like thinking about, wait, what if the raid suit goes to Usopp? But
The problem is that it doesn't work for Usopp because it doesn't do anything in regards to his character arc. Sanji had a character arc in Whole Cake Island, and I feel like the resolution, or at least part of it, given the fact that, Whole Cake Island was left on standby, is Sanji accepting and using the Germa tech to actually gain something and protect his friends in Wano. Like even in the last chapter, Sanji is still resisting his family lineage. And I feel like his character arc has to conclude with him saying, I disagree with these people, I don't appreciate them, but I can accept part of that because whether I want to or not, they are still my family. So he can put on the raid suit, and it wouldn't work for Usopp because like Niji was making fun of Sanji's speed. What is a suit that is supposed to increase a user's speed going to help Usopp with? What is he going to use it for? He's going to use it to run away faster? No. I just think it makes perfect sense for Sanji to get an upgrade via the raid suit. Think about it this way. If Zoro can upgrade his swords, why can't Sanji get some tech upgrades? Now, in terms of what I would hope that the raid suit allows Sanji to do, get ready for this, okay? If I were writing One Piece, this is what I would give him. Because at this point, the Vinsmokes have seen Sanji fight. They were watching the Luffy versus Sanji thing go down, so they know about Sanji's fighting style. So not only should the raid suit be capable of adapting and increasing and boostering Sanji's fighting style with kicks, but it should also align with him using heat and the fire that he already produces. In addition, and this is the big one, this is kind of like my own crazy idea, I want the suit to incorporate Ichiji's explosions, Niji's lightning, and Yonji's winch technology. I mean, think about it. How epic would it be if he puts on the suit and it actually has every single one of his siblings' abilities? Up next is Roronoa. And some people don't like that I say that whatever Zoro is about to pull in Wano, I like to call it the Ashura Tensei. He has to open his eye. Like that's a #1 requirement for Zoro in Wano. But what I really mean when I say the Ashura Tensei is that whatever feat he pulls has to showcase, has to highlight his destruction capabilities. Like the destruction capacity of Zoro's attack has to go one step beyond what he did in Dressrosa, which was essentially mountain level. So he has to go beyond mountain level, and he also has to go beyond what Luffy did with the King Kong gun, which is essentially the fact that he split a town in half with one punch. The usual arc structure goes like this. Oda gives Zoro a feat, and then Luffy comes in and he's like, boop, and then it goes again like boop, boop. So if you follow that pattern, alright, I can pretty much guarantee that by the end of Wano, Zoro will undoubtedly be Yonko Commander level. And part of me suspects that he already kind of is, because he hasn't gotten a serious fight post-time skip. We haven't seen his eye, and I think it's obvious that it's for timing reasons. Like, he's obviously waiting for the proper moment to unleash whatever ability he's hiding. And I think Wano is going to provide him the perfect opportunity to do that, especially because he'll be surrounded by samurai, alright? He can pick up new skills from the samurai, maybe new elemental types of slashes or techniques. I also wouldn't put it past Mihawk for him to tell Zoro, listen up, as your master, I forbid you to open up this eye until you hit Wano. Until you meet the samurai and you learn the way of the samurai or some special skill in Wano, that's when you can just go all out, alright? Not before. Now, whatever the eye technique is, it has to be something that sets him apart from any other swordsman in the rest of the world. Again, I think Zoro is going to be Yonko Commander level by the end of this arc. I think his bounty is going to either be 1 billion or surpass 1 billion, and then Luffy's jump for his bounty will be higher than that. But if you remember, when we got introduced to Jack and Katakuri, the first Yonko Commanders that have bounties over 1 billion, they have something that's very special and unique to them. Jack is a prehistoric Zoan, and he's a fisherman, so he can't drown like normal Devil Fruit users can. So that makes him special. Katakuri is a special Paramecia. He has Awakening. He's our first window into the reader learning about future sight in the series. Plus, okay, he can use Block Mochi, which is a step beyond normal armament hockey. So that makes him special. Zoro has to get something that's very unique to him. That's why I stuck with the Sanji idea of him getting that raid suit and only working for him. So Zoro has to get something that's equally unique. Maybe the eye is hockey based. Maybe it does have some special type of hockey that we've never seen before. It could be a mixture of observation hockey. Maybe he has future sight coupled with King's hockey, so it could be a combination of both. It could be that he has to keep it closed because if he opens it up, it'll just drain his hockey immensely. So he's been training to be disciplined and just use it in case of emergencies, like in a dire situation. And then hopefully his aim should be to be able to have both eyes open near the end of the series, like by the time they hit Raftel. Monkey D. Luffy, the 5th Emperor, or as I like to call him, the 5th Yonko, even though it makes no sense because Yonko, the yon means 4. And by the way, you know that Nami, Flampe, and Brule were reading those papers going like, wait a minute, hold on here, where's our bounty increase? We actually helped out during those fights. Our numbers didn't go up. What happened there? I think a lot of the stuff that we can expect to see from Luffy in his fight against Kaido in Wano is stuff that he learned in his fight against Katakuri. We're obviously talking awakening mode for Luffy. Katakuri had this thing where he would like make donuts appear in midair, and then that way he could connect punches. I think it's going to be the same thing for Luffy, but Luffy could like make like tires appear in midair, and then his punches would come out of those tires. Something similar to that. We're obviously also talking about future sight, observation hockey that allows them to see the future. I think that's a no-brainer. And with that logic in mind, I think it's also important for him to be able to upgrade his armament hockey and be able to do something similar to block Mochi, hit that next level of armament hockey to really, really like land some hits and deal some damage to Kaido, or at least try to. Now the thing here is that if you look at Luffy's Gear 4 stats, all right, we have Tank Man for defense, Snake Man for speed. So what's missing? Okay, because here's the thing, some people cannot agree on whether Bounce Man is an attack form or it's an overall well-rounded form, meaning that it encompasses all these stats into one. Now here's the thing, all right? If you believe that Bounce Man is not Luffy's primary Gear 4th attack form, that means that you believe that he's been holding out, like he has not shown his Gear 4th attack form just yet. I don't believe that, because if that's true, that means that essentially whatever Gear 4th attack mode is, that would essentially turn Luffy into a glass cannon, meaning that he would pack tremendous punches, like tremendous attack power, but his defense capability would suck. It would essentially mean that Luffy would have to end the fight as soon as possible, because once those attacks land, it's over. Like if there's a counterattack, he's done, because there's no defense, his hockey's depleted, he would be out. And that's almost exactly the same thing that happens when he goes Bounce Man. So I don't think that there's an extra attack form for Gear 4th. Special defense and special attack, I think, have to be encompassing awakening at this point. If that's even a form, like if those forms even exist, they cannot be reached without awakening. I think it's clear as day. And then finally, I think the combination of all those modes into one, in addition to the incorporation of future sight with the observation hockey, block Mochi, or block rubber in this case, with the armament hockey, all those aspects coupled into one, and then possibly adding in an extra level to his King's hockey, all those characteristics, all those aspects combined into one could leave us with a brand new monkey gear. That's going to do it for me. This is probably my longest video ever, so if you appreciated some of the points that I made, I would appreciate you leaving me a thumbs up. You don't have to, but it's a great feeling that, just show your support. As always, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already for more One Piece content, and comment down below with your thoughts. What do you think about these things happening in Wano? Or not. Maybe you have your own ideas. Let me know. Bye.